Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Fallen for Film podcast. I am your host, Ryan O'Toole, and welcome to episode number dose. If you guys did not see the pilot episode and what we're doing here for the Fallen for Film podcast, you can go check that episode out on any of your live stream platforms of your choosing, YouTube, Spotify, or Google Play. That is up right there. And Colin and I are back once again. My co-host, Colin Williams. Colin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, just binge watching, quarantine, watching Netflix, a lot of sitting at my house doing nothing, bored. So I'm really happy to do episode 2 of the podcast and talk about the world of movies and entertainment today.
Ozark, I've heard some good things about that show overall. How are you liking it so far?
It's good. I really love the first 2 seasons a lot. We had actually wait 2 years for the third season. They didn't have a season come out in 2019, and so I was really bummed about that. And then this season, it's been a little talky, not as much going on. It has a little bit more simple of a story, but I'm gonna do a review out on my channel when I finish it. I got like 2 episodes left, but still a really good show, kind of in that Breaking Bad kind of realm to it. And I love Jason Bateman. It's kind of fun seeing him play a serious role where he kind of has to be very villainous and stuff like that, even though he is the protagonist in the show. It's a good show. I'm glad I'm watching it.
That's awesome. Breaking Bad's my favorite show of all time. So just hearing all those things makes me want to go watch this show in particular. But right now I'm binge watching Game of Thrones again because I'm in that Thrones mood. I think I'm on
Yeah,
the
I've been seeing that. I need to. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm on the episode where Joffrey dies, season 4. So that's a really great moment. Spoilers. But overall, yeah, Game of Thrones just an excellent show all around, despite season 8, but still one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. I remember I had watched it. I never had seen it before, and then season 8 was coming out. Everyone's freaking out about it. I binged it all in like literally like a month, all like 7 seasons.
Me
I
too.
loved it. Really disappointed by the 8th season. But whatever. It is what it is. The seven. It doesn't stop it from the 7 seasons like not existing and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can all just forget about that. But anyway, guys, if you're tuning into this podcast, welcome, either on YouTube, Spotify, or Google Play. We're currently waiting on iTunes right now because that takes a while for them to accept. But anyway, that's where you guys can find us if you're listening on the podcast. If you don't have time to watch it on YouTube, you can listen to us on Spotify and on Google Play. So go check us out over there. So anyway, guys, for episode 2, we got some cool major movie news to dive into, and we also have our normal segments that Colin and I do, which is we give our underrated, overrated picks of the week, our movie quote of the week, as well as a fan-submitted question segment, which we introduced here. For every time we film a podcast episode, guys, please submit over a question to us, and we might feature your question on the show if it's good enough. So anyway, there's so much to talk about today, Colin. I figure we just get right into it with the very first topic. And it's some more movie delay news. As you know, all the popular movies for 2020 are getting delayed because of what. The world is scrambling right now. What are we doing for entertainment? We're locking ourselves in our room trying to find something to watch. So, our first topic today is Wonder Woman 1984 does have a release date planned, and that is August 14th, 2020. And some other movies have also been delayed as of recently, and that is Scoob, the animated Scooby Doo movie that's supposed to be an origin story, as well as In the Heights, a live action musical adaptation based on the popular Broadway musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda, and so much more. Black Widow also posted something. Colin, just talk about all these newest movie delays.
Well, Wonder Woman 1984, we talked about in the last podcast, talking about, it was it was rumored it might go to VOD or some sort of streaming. Good thing that they're sticking ground, that they still want to be a theatrical release as it should be intended to see. Wonder Woman 1984, as we talked about, looked absolutely fantastic. I think it has a potential to be better than the first one. This is kind of interesting news to me, being August 14th, because that is not too far away. A lot of these delays that are happening, well, you see it with Disney. A lot of them are just straight up postponing it indefinitely, and then will release once they see the whole situation with the virus, and they might move it to a more closer date, or they might even move it farther away. They're kind of just in a wait and see approach. Interesting that Warner Brothers full on just kind of put their foot down and just. And I kind of like it in the sense that I think it's giving us movie fans hope, maybe that they believe it's going
Hmm.
to get better by then, and that movie theaters will be open again, and our favorite movies are going to be that we had on our top 10 list for the most anticipated movies of the year are finally going to be finally coming out and stuff like that. So interesting to see that they put their foot down on that with the August 14th release date. As far as like Scoob and In the Heights, Scoob was a trailer for the Scooby Doo movie that I thought was actually kind of sweet. I liked the vibe of it and stuff. I wasn't. Some people weren't as high on it as me, but I'm a Scooby Doo fan. I was interested in that. And In the Heights is a project I'm not too familiar with, but as far as the Wonder Woman 1984 news, it's cool that they put their foot down and officially announced that date, which is kind of soon.
In the Heights is my brother, one of his favorite musicals, actually. And Lin-Manuel Miranda also did Hamilton, which is also a very popular musical that's coming to theaters very soon, which is exciting. But yes, the news isn't surprising because the world is scrambling. We need to make some money. They got to pay the bills somehow. And they just decided, you know what? Wonder Woman 1984 is a theatrical release. And so it's cool that there is a release date there. And it makes me question, like, when are these big blockbusters eternally coming out? Are they just going to come out, week by week in the late of August? Is the summer movie season beginning in August or September? Are we going to be cold or are we going to be warm? I have no idea because the summer movie season, we're supposed to be hot and sweaty and just watching some awesome blockbuster action. And it's cool that, like you said, it does have a release date. Will it stand? That is the question. And for Scoob, I'm also very excited now after watching that trailer and seeing a very animated origin story, how Scooby and Shaggy meet. And I'm just really curious to see what that movie is all about. And In the Heights as well looks really cool. The director doing it is the director of Crazy Rich Asians, which is really
Oh,
cool.
okay.
And you also sent me something which was also very interesting. I dived into that, and that Black Widow might be going to streaming service, Disney Plus. And I'm like, Marvel, seriously, you're gonna lose millions of dollars doing this. Like, do the route that everybody's been doing. Like, there is a point in time where we can see these movies in theaters. It's just the world's up in flames right now, dude.
Yeah, so I got you sent me the outline for what was like on the docket for this upcoming podcast, and then right after the news dropped that Marvel fans may need to prepare themselves for Black Widow not premiering in theaters, which is insane to me. Like I said, I kind of had the same viewpoint with Wonder Woman. I don't think it's gonna happen, but the fact that they're entertaining the idea just proves how serious of a situation this whole epidemic is. So it's just kind of it doesn't feel real, I mean, we're soon it felt like, like I said mentioned this last time, but like March was like, oh, this is good for business, us YouTubers who review movies. It's like hella movies coming out, and then even like later down the month we had, James Bond, Black Widow, just big franchise movies that, would kind of bring some eyes over to our channels and stuff. And now this news would kind of really bum me out. The only thing I can say is at this point with, I'm rewatching a lot of movies and stuff. I know we kind of talked about, oh, we want to see things on the big screen, but I want to see this film eventually, and we don't know how long this whole thing's going to drag on. I know a lot of people are saying that just statistic wise, it's not going to necessarily, it's going to get worse before it actually gets better. So if this did drop to Disney Plus, I mean, it's not my money, so I don't really have too much of a gripe watching it in my living room. I do love that movie theater experience, but I want to watch this movie at some point. So I don't know how long this is going to drag on. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, and they also may have said Mulan as well might move to Disney Plus. So I'm hoping that these movies do not go to Disney Plus because Marvel, we know they are the cash grabbers. They make over billions at the box office now, like with Endgame breaking Avatar's record as the highest grossing film of all time. And Spider-Man Far From Home as well made over $1 billion. So, like, Black Widow as well can make over $1 billion. And like this is a smart move, and the Disney live action remakes just make cash. Basically, Lion King was basically a cash grab. Like these movies are intended to make lots of money, and overseas is where Mulan's going to destroy the overseas box office. So I'm with you, man. I really hope these movies do not go to Disney Plus, these big blockbuster films. So yeah, it's just a crazy world we live in right now. So anyway, this movie news really interested me, and it's a very exciting piece of movie news to discuss and dive into. And that is the Mad Max Fury Road prequel. Now, there have been high demands that I want a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road because I know, sir, you have some different opinions, but save that for later. But anyway, the biggest movie news is that Anya Taylor-Joy, a very popular actress who is in many films like The Witch and Split, there is heavy rumors that she is being eyed to play a young Furiosa in the upcoming spin-off film Furiosa for Mad Max Fury Road. Now, everybody went up in flames talking about this on Twitter, social media. Anya Taylor-Joy is one of the best actresses coming up, working today. She's also in New Mutants. When is that coming out? But anyway, Colin,
Never.
what Colin, what's your thoughts on this?
Okay, so as far as the Anya Taylor-Joy, anything she's in, I'm gonna be intrigued in. I think the first film I saw her in was Split, which I'm sure you saw that, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Split is fantastic.
She's
Split's
really,
fantastic. I
I
love
love
Split.
that film.
Yeah, she's really great in it as well. She's just got a really good presence to her. I don't know how old she is. I'm guessing she's in her young
She's, I
20s.
think she's my age, 24 or 23.
Yeah, yeah. So she's around that age. Really impressive work, from her, and she's doing like some of the artistic films. She did that one movie with what was that one movie where the two girls try and like kill her dad or something like that?
Oh, Thoroughbreds.
Thoroughbreds. Okay, that was kind of like a maybe more of a deeper cut type of film. Not really necessarily an indie, but more artistic type film. So she's doing that, and then you see the New Mutants. It's more of a franchise movie that, for some reason, it doesn't
With
want to come out.
Maisie Williams,
So,
Arya
yeah,
Stark.
yeah, we're just talking about Game of Thrones there. So too, but so she's done some really good stuff, and then she's now in Mad Max Fury Road, which are the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, which is a movie. I guess I'll just drop it now that I hate with the fire of a thousand suns. I think it's such an overrated movie,
Come
and
on.
I
Come
know.
on.
So we can debate it now, but I hate that movie. I think it's absolute garbage.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. But she's great in it. I mean, she's great in everything she's in, and I can't say I'm really excited for the news, like it being in a Mad Max prequel. I can't say I'm excited with that because I could just care less about that particular news. But being that she's an actress I like, her getting work in a big franchise film is exciting, and I'm happy for her. But I don't care as far as the Mad Max stuff. And I know I'm gonna get hates in the comments, and people are already unsubscribing to my channel because people
To my
absolutely,
channel.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna unsubscribe to your channel because they're like, why is this guy hanging
Why
out
is
with
this guy your co-host?
Yeah, who is this guy? Who did you
He's
find
the
this guy?
devil.
Dude, I saw the I saw the movie and I couldn't stand it. I was like, what is happening right now? The action was cool, but it was just like this utopian, just apocalyptic. The action was really good. It was really well shot. I don't have any gripes with that, but I was just from scene to scene to scene, I was like, these dudes spray painting their teeth and just saying crazy
But
crap, and
that's
there's
Mad
people,
Max. Like that's
yeah,
George Miller's
yeah,
world.
yeah, and then they're just playing guitar on the thing. I was like, this is so stupid. Stupid. It's stupid. If you
But
like
it's awesome.
no, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. I hate it. And I'm gonna call this person out now. I mentioned him the last time on the podcast. Jaren Talks Movies. We talked
Yeah.
about great YouTuber, great kid. Um, I was actually talking to him. I'm sure we'd probably want to have him as a guest at some point. But
Absolutely.
he
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, he's great. So, but I was talking to him, and we were talking about like unpopular opinion, and I was telling you about the Jim Carrey ranking that we did, and I was like, oh my god, I don't like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but everybody else does. I was like, I think I just have bad movie opinions because everyone loves Mad Max Fury Road, and I hate that movie. And he told me, he's like, dude, don't tell anybody. Well, I don't think he said don't tell anybody because if I did, then I'm kind of ratting him out now. But then he's like, I think he'll be fine with it. I mean, me and him are good buds, but he's like. He was like, dude, honestly, I like can't stand that movie either. So maybe there's a lot of people like me and Jaren out there.
Yeah,
And
you're not alone.
if you are a hater of Mad Max Fury Road, please jump in the comments and let me know that me and Jaren are not alone. And yeah, please. But anyway, I'm kind of going on a rant, and I'm sorry, but I can't stand the
Hey, no
movie.
worries.
But I
Yeah.
love Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yes, Anya Taylor-Joy is an actress that is really great. She takes on roles, like you said, she's normally in those independent films. Like the first film I saw her in was also Split. I didn't see The Witch at the time it was in theaters. I actually watched The Witch for the first time going into The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was one of my favorite films last year, dude. I love that movie. And she was so good in The Witch. I was like, this girl is so talented, and she's in these movies because of The Witch. She was so good in that film, and was Split in M. Night Shyamalan's film as this girl, as one of James McAvoy's hostages. She was just so good in that film, and then she was in Glass as well. She didn't have much to do there, but and I really love seeing that she's taking more risks, stepping outside her comfort zone, not just doing what she normally does, but she's in the New Mutants, which when that film comes out, probably never. And with this Mad Max Fury Road spin-off film that has been in discussions because Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road was so great. I seriously thought she should have gotten nominated for Best Actress. She was so great in that film. And George Miller's world just coming back together in Fury Road. That is easily the one of the best action films this past decade, next to Mission Impossible Fallout and Tom Hardy as well. And he's doing Venom, but we're not talking about Hardy. And this casting is really great because I love Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a fantastic actress. And if it seems like they're going for a young Furiosa type of film, I'm all for it. Give it to me now.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I forgot that you mentioned she was in The Witch. I still had yet to see that, and then I
Sure.
forgot that the director who did The Witch did The Lighthouse. I remember it now, but you brought it back up. And I remember we were talking when we were playing for the podcast, and I said that I was about to watch The Lighthouse tonight with my girlfriend. I finally saw it, and wow, what did I just watch?
It's something, ain't it? You like me
I
lobster, don't you, Colin?
I don't see. The thing is, I can't say I liked it, and I can't say I hated it either. I don't know I don't know what I felt about it.
That's the
I
intent.
was
Yeah.
I was intrigued. The performances were really good, and I'm
Mm.
glad Robert Pattinson's gonna be Batman.
Yeah,
But I was like, what the f am I watching? What is
exactly.
going on?
Yeah. Yes.
So I can't say I can't even. You said it was one of your favorite films last year. I can't
It
even say
was.
that because I don't. I probably never want to watch it again. You know what I mean? I'm glad I watched it. I'm
Wow. I
really yeah. I'm really thrilled with the experience it gave me. But I'm just like I don't. Thanks, but that's about it.
it's so out there. I love that Robert Eggers passionately made that film about these two men stuck on a lighthouse island and they're just going crazy. Like that is amazing. Like that has some of the best
Well,
acting of last
I
year.
can't, I don't know if I could say, yeah, I don't know if there's a movie. I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't know if there's a movie I can think of where the actors and like just everyone behind the camera, the directors, everybody were so committed, like equally as committed as the next guy. Like the makeup
Yes.
designers or the costume designers and the actors and the directors, whether that what they gave me, I probably wasn't the biggest fan of, but I don't know if I could at least in recent memory, see a movie so committed in just all phases. Everyone was giving their
Yes.
all. Not to say that most movies don't
Defoe.
do that.
Dude, Defoe, like, he studied old men's lighthouse sailors from the 1890s, how they talk, how they dress. This dude should have got nominated and won supporting actor. Like,
He
Brad
should have.
Pitt,
He should
Brad
have.
Pitt was
Yeah, he
awesome.
should have.
Brad Pitt was awesome in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I don't think he deserved it. Willem Dafoe deserved that Best Supporting Actor Oscar. But we're getting off topic here. But anyway, Anya Taylor-Joy being
Okay.
cast in the Mad Max Fury Road spinoff is super awesome news to hear, especially with what's going on now. And so I'm highly interested in that film now because of that casting. So anyway, with our next topic today, Colin, is another casting and producer news. Ryan Gosling, one of the most popular actors working today after La La Land, Blade Runner 2049, and Drive, is that Ryan Gosling is being eyed to star in and produce the upcoming Andy Weir project film Hail Mary. If you guys don't know who Andy Weir is, he wrote the Martian book, and you know The Martian came out in 2015. That was one of my favorite films that year by Ridley Scott and Matt Damon. And now he has another book to film adaptation coming out, and that is Hail Mary. And Ryan Gosling is being eyed to be the main star and producer. So, Colin, what's your opinion on this news? What do you think of Ryan Gosling?
Okay, I actually recently saw Drive, so I love Ryan Gosling. Actually, I'm doing a video with Sean Chandler. We're gonna do Drive versus Baby Driver,
Yeah, you
talking
wrote
about that, kind
this.
of do
Yeah.
like a debate, yeah, a debate slash discussion about it. So he'll be on my channel. We're meeting up at like we're gonna do like a video chat at like Wednesday at 5, and then the video should be the next day on like a Thursday. So our listeners be on the lookout for that. But anyway, I love Ryan Gosling. I just love how and even in that film Drive, how nonchalant he is. It's almost like it's so easy for him to act, you know. He's got so much like swagger and confidence, and he's just
Mm.
extremely handsome and good looking. Everyone wants to look like him. I'm pretty sure he's my uncle's spirit animal. He like completely tries to dress like him and everything. My uncle loves
Yeah.
that guy.
Hmm.
But yeah, everything
Yeah.
he's in, I really enjoy. Even that movie, that kind of like cheesy gangster movie, Gangster Squad. He's really good.
Yeah.
That's kind of a guilty. That's kind of a guilty pleasure movie for me. I
One
actually
of
love
his
that movie.
sorry to cut you off, but one of his many collabs with Emma Stone.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then yeah, La La Land, he's great in as well. I need to rewatch that movie. I haven't seen that in a while. But anyway, so I like him a lot. And then The Martian, I say this a lot with, and it's probably not a fair comparison, but you know, being space movies and high concept, high budget films by uh fairly prestigious directors with like, you know, Ridley Scott and stuff, The Martian. And then I always compare The Martian, Arrival, and Interstellar together, and I always say that The Martian and Arrival are kind of better versions of Interstellar, whereas Interstellar it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the movie, but I think it had some very rich ideas that weren't executed as well as it could have, because he just had so many amazing ideas, but he kind of threw too much at it, and it kind of was a little much. Whereas, especially with Arrival has like those trippy uh, uh, elements that Interstellar does, and then has like the space elements, but it did it better. And then The Martian is a full on just he's at Mars, it's full on a space film. And funny enough, Matt Damon's also in Interstellar as well. I'm totally rambling, so sorry about
Yeah,
this.
I compare those two films.
But anyway, so The Martian and The Arrival, I'm always saying in this particular case, The Martian, which was an adaptation of, give me his name again.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
The adaptation of The Martian, it was Andy Weir,
Andy
right?
Weir, yeah, the author.
The book. Yeah. So I don't even know why. I'm just kind of rambling. But so basically, what I'm saying is I really enjoyed The Martian, and that's an Andy Weir adaptation. So Ryan Gosling and a really talented author's adaptation, doing something. What was the project called? Do you know?
Hail
Oh,
Mary,
Hail.
Hail Mary.
Yeah. Hail Mary. I'm not familiar with the book. I never even read The Martian either, even though I heard fantastic things about it as well. Just the book, and it's actually fairly accurate to the movie as well. So, yeah, I love Ryan Gosling, and then the one Andy Weir adaptation, The Martian. I believe that's the only film I've seen. I love that movie. I agree, it was one of the best films of 2015. Sorry, I'm rambling, but yeah, that was basically short, long answer. I'm pumped, but yeah.
Gosling is also my spirit animal as well. After I saw Blade Runner 2049, like that was my favorite film of 2017 easily. Like that should have got way more Oscar noms than it did. Glad it won for cinematography. Love you, Roger Deakins. But anyway, Ryan Gosling, anything he stars in, directs or produces, he's also directed Only God Forgives. Like that movie is
Oh,
so good.
wait, what?
Um,
Really?
yeah, that was like his directorial debut, I believe. Don't quote me on that,
Really?
but
It's really cool
anyway,
seeing like actors direct. That's so cool. I love that.
yeah.
I love when they do that.
Anyway, so Ryan Gosling, whenever he does something like that, I am always interested in because he has my name and he and whenever he takes on any character, it's just the coolest iteration of that character. And many people complain that, oh, Ryan Gosling's so boring, he's so dull, he's so dry. Like this is subtle acting right here, and he does it at his best. Like Ryan Gosling just transforms into whatever characters he plays and just gives the best of those subtle performances really well in Blade Runner 2049. Like his character is really subtle in his emotions, and he was just really great in there. And La La Land as well, where he just plays a jazz musician who has dreams and passions, and just he just knows how to play any character he takes on. And in First Man as well as Neil Armstrong, like he just gives the best of those subtle performances, does it really well. And Andy Weir is a really great author, and The Martian, one of the best films of 2015. And I hear that name from that author, and he has another film, and Ryan Gosling as the star. I'm pumped. I'm pumped now. Give it to me now. And anyway,
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited.
speaking of another actor that's named Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, was cast in the upcoming video game adaptation of Dragon's Lair, which is coming to Netflix. I sent you this piece of movie news. But anyway, Colin, have you ever heard of the game Dragon's Lair? I heard it's an arcade style game, but Ryan Reynolds is the star in it. What are your thoughts?
I'll kind of let you give most of your thoughts here. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the Dragon's Lair game. I don't know virtually anything about it. I'm assuming it has a dragon and a lair. That's about that's about it. And yeah, now I know it's yeah, yeah, now I know it's a arcade game as well. So, I'm not a big video game player. The last like video game I got like really into. I mean, I like playing video games, but the last video game I got really into was PS4 Spider-Man. Awesome game. And then I tried getting into the latest Star Wars video game.
Jedi
What was
Fallen
it
Order.
called? Yeah, Fallen Order, and
My
I
dad
and
loves
I
that
just
game.
haven't been able to. Yeah, I haven't really been able to get into it as much as I wanted to. I started it and I liked it. I just haven't been able to pick it back up in a while. So I'm not a big video game player. The last video game movie I saw though was Sonic, and I really enjoyed Sonic, but despite
Yeah,
not knowing a whole lot about the character, really fun time. I did a collab with Justin Watches Movies on his channel, or on my
great
channel
YouTuber.
actually. We did it together. Yeah, Justin watched the movies. Really nice guy. And I brought him on because he knew a lot about the character, and I didn't. Hence why I don't know a lot about Dragon Lair as well. I'm not a huge video game person. Not a huge so a lot of these video game adaptations. I don't see a lot of them. I saw Tomb Raider. I like that one. The Tomb Raider kind of reboot. So Ryan Reynolds,
Detective
great
Pikachu.
actor.
Might I say
Yeah,
this
Detective Pikachu.
the second video game adaptation, Detective
I
Pikachu
know
is
he might, yeah, he might be like the king of this. So yeah, this news is, it's not, it's whatever. I don't have too crazy of a take on it. It's I don't know.
yeah, Dragon's Lair. I never heard of the game really either. Maybe I might have played it at some point in my childhood, but it is an arcade game, and I do like arcade games at times, but Ryan Reynolds, like the dude is one of the most popular actors working today. Like Deadpool, like he was just born to play Deadpool. Let's just be real. Yeah, forget about Origins Wolverine and all that, but still, Ryan Reynolds, whenever he takes on a project like a Detective Pikachu or the upcoming Free Guy, did you see the trailer for Free Guy?
Oh my God, that was in my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2020. It looks freaking awesome.
It
It
looks
looks
awesome.
so good.
It looks better than
Did
Six
you
Under.
know that the director? Oh yeah, Six Undergrad. Did you know that the director that did the Night of the Museum movies is directing that?
Free Guy? Oh, I did not know that. I love the Night at the
Isn't
Museum.
that weird? Isn't that like
These
a
books are
weird
so
choice though? Like
underrated.
yeah, I mean, I like the first Night of the Museum. I don't even know if I've ever seen the other two, but I thought it was just kind of interesting. And like, Free Guy looked so funny. Looked like a mix of like the Lego movie, kind of like a normal everyday guy, and then
Yeah, a live
Ready Player
action Lego
One.
movie. Yeah. Hmm.
Ready Player One, I love Ready Player One. I think that's like one of Steven Spielberg's underrated movies. That movie gets a lot of hate for some dumb reason, but I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed.
So yeah,
Yes, Ryan Reynolds, Free Guy looks awesome. I do agree. That will probably be delayed for sure. But still, Dragon's Lair, it's going on Netflix, which I don't have high anticipation because of going to Netflix overall. But still, the game, never even heard of it. But Ryan Reynolds, he's been doing these types of roles where they're fun, action type of kid adventure films with video game in it. Like Detective Pikachu, that was like his first voice work, real work, and he was really great as Pikachu. But I'm really interested to see what this idea is all about and how Ryan Reynolds will be in it. And since he was cast in that, that has my anticipation a little higher for sure. So, really cool news there. So now let's transition to our weekly topic, and that is our underrated and overrated movie picks of the week. Which do you want to start with, Colin? Underrated or overrated?
Okay, so we had just talked about Mad Max Fury Road. That's not going to be my overrated pick because, like, we kind of already known that. So I guess I kind of have two this week. But we can. I mean, it's up to you, man. I like it. We did underrated last week. We started with that one, so we could do overrated first. And if you want to
Overrated
start it
first.
off, you can. Yeah, you can start it off.
All right, so I will start off with my overrated movie pick of the week, and that is a new release, Doctor Sleep. Came out last year,
Ooh.
the sequel to The Shining, one of my most anticipated films for the fall movie season. If you didn't know, Colin, The Shining is my favorite horror film of all time. I love that movie so much. Stanley Kubrick's direction, Jack Nicholson's performance, which wasn't even nominated for an Oscar. And do you believe that this film got two Razzie nominations?
No, no,
This
I
movie
don't know
got
anything about that.
nominated.
No.
It got nominated for worst director and worst performance by a lead actress for Shelley Duvall. That's crazy to.
Wow.
But
I think there's
anyway,
just a lot of haters. There's a lot of haters with that. So there's a lot of Stanley Kubrick haters. They don't. There's some. I was reading some stuff about like. I mean, I don't. I can't even act like I know 100% about it, but apparently there's a lot of stuff about how he treated some people while he was directing the movie of The Shining. I don't know
mhm,
if you've heard about that.
I've heard about that. Yes.
So, what's your take on that?
That's how he really got a great performance out of his actors, and Shelley Duvall. I thought she was great in The Shining. I don't know what people were talking about back then, but still, you hear about The Shining, and it's getting a sequel, and it's following Danny Torrance's perspective, played by Ewan McGregor. He's an alcoholic now. He has memories of his father, and he basically finds this girl who has the same Shining ability from Kylie Curran. I think that's the actress's name. Really great in there. And then you have these group of villain characters. Rebecca Ferguson plays the leader, and they take the soul and power of these people. And then we go to normally stuff from the books, and then we go back to the iconic Overlook Hotel at the end of the film. Spoilers. But anyway, so Doctor Sleep, I found this movie to be really boring, if I'm going to be completely honest. I know people
Ooh.
loved the film all around. Some people had it in their best of the year or had it in like their honorable mentions, and I wasn't in that ballpark. I found the movie to be disappointing in some aspects. Some storylines I wanted them to dive, a little bit more into, and it didn't really pay off for me at the end. I thought the villain characters, especially Rebecca Ferguson, were just really paint by numbers and dry. And the ending of the film is pretty much all fan service stuff that doesn't feel really earned. Like, we obviously expect they're going to go to the Overlook Hotel and some stuff there. Danny Torrance is going to do some things. There's a, if you watch the movie, Colin, there is a lot of fan service moments. Like, there's a scene with, Ewan McGregor sitting in an office, which is very much uh, paying homage to when Jack Torrance is interviewing for the Overlook Hotel position. It looks like the same exact room. There's just scenes where they're repainting the iconic elevator full of blood scene, the iconic scene with the dead servant saying party's on, I think. And then him going into the bar, of course, which we all love that scene from The Shining. Like, I just felt there was too much fan service in that film and not enough, doing stuff on their own. But still, the movie's not awful. I think it's a fine, good film, but as far as like one of the best films of last year, I wasn't in that ballpark.
Well, that's it's funny you say that because I almost felt like you're saying it's overrated. I feel like a lot of people, and this is really interesting, and this is a lot of times when people talk about Star Wars films, they're like, "The Revenge of the Sith is so underrated" or "It's so overrated." It's like it has its fan bases, so it's kind of hard to say. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, people could say is overrated, even though I don't think that way. That would be an accurate thing to say. It not accurately, like I don't believe that way, but accurate in the sense that it's a highly praised film, so it could be classified as overrated if someone didn't like it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
with there, a lot of times, like the people will say movies like that are kind of not really split down the middle, but a lot of people I've heard have said Doctor Sleep is underrated. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
You said overrated. So I think maybe when you're saying, "Oh, it's overrated," you're kind of saying for the people that like the movie, absolutely love it. You know what I'm saying? And then does that make sense? I'm kind
Yeah,
of trying to.
everything you said totally makes sense. Like Doctor Sleep didn't do well at the box office at all, and Empire Strikes Back, everybody's seen that movie, and not everybody's seen Doctor Sleep. So I totally get what you're saying. I guess what I meant by is that the people that saw Doctor Sleep, which is a majority of the film fan base who review movies, they loved the movie. They absolutely loved it. They thought it was a great book that followed the book really well. Maybe it's because I didn't read the book. Maybe that's why. But people are saying definitely one of the best films of the year. The villains were great. And Ewan McGregor was really great in there. I thought he was the best part of the film. Kylie Curran was also great, the little girl. But I didn't think it was as great as people are saying it is. Like, it's not a perfect, flawless movie. Like, there are issues with the film. I guess that's what I was trying to say, but it's not really fair to call it overrated because maybe not everybody has seen it or talking about it. So I can see where you're coming from.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like to you it's overrated based off of the people that surround you, the people that are around you. Like each situation's different. Like they really liked it, so I can see where you're coming from there. The reason why I thought maybe I was, oh wow, that's kind of interesting pick because a lot of people like yeah, you're saying it didn't do well at the box office, stuff like that. So awesome pick though. I thought that's interesting one for sure. And then you want me to just jump right into my we're doing
Yeah,
overrated.
overrated. Yes.
Okay, so my overrated is a movie I still kind of enjoy. I think I enjoyed it. I like it less and less the more I think about it, and then a rewatch didn't really sit as well for me. Really not really disappointed when I first saw it, but I was kind of like, wow, this had the potential to be like one of the best films in the genre and in its universe. The trailers looked amazing. That the actors are really good. I like their introduction to this universe, and I like the director, and that's Black Panther.
You're
I
not
think that's
alone. You are
yeah.
not alone, sir. A
I
lot
am
of
not
people think
alone.
it's overrated.
And to
I
me
don't
it
agree, but
Okay, so yeah, we've disagreed. We kind of split the room a little bit, but it's okay. That's what the film discourse is all about. So, Black Panther to me is first of all my biggest gripe of it, and it makes me like the movie less, fair or unfair. That it was nominated for an Oscar. It had zero business being not for an Oscar for Best Picture. Zero business being nominated for Best Picture. I mean, think about the movies in 2018 that didn't get nominated. A Quiet Place, for example. And Infinity War, it wasn't even the best comic book movie that year. I think Into the Spider-Verse was a
Into
better
the
film. I
Spider-Verse,
think
yeah, yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse, which of course did win an Oscar, and
Mission Impossible.
Black Panther still won 3 Oscars actually. But I'm not no gripes with the Oscars that it did win. I'm just saying the Best Picture nomination was a complete and utter joke. It's a joke that it was nominated for it. And I love Ryan Coogler. I love what he did with Creed. He's one of the best, like up and coming, and he's not even really up and coming anymore because he's
Yeah.
now going to be doing some really cool projects in the future. But to me, it was just had a it kind of undermined, I think, Black Panther's character a little bit. He was kind of pushed to the sideline for some other cool characters. I like them, and like I said, I think Killmonger was a great villain. There's some really interesting. I love like the African Wakanda culture. I think the movie's really culturally significant. It's definitely not one of the MCU's worst films, but to me, people are saying like it's a top 10 Marvel movie, and and I think I respect it more than I actually enjoy it. I think it's really mature in its themes, and it's extremely well made, but especially from a directing standpoint. But I think there's a big like lull in the middle. There's not enough action in the film, I believe. And then the action that is presented is kind of CGI heavy, which I mean that's Marvel, but I don't think it looked all that great. Actually, I think it's kind of one of the, especially with the time it came out, and people might complain about like the first Avenger, Captain America: The First Avenger. There's some CGI scenes that look pretty good, but still they're heavy on it. They don't look great, so there's a little bit forgivable being that it came out earlier. You know, by now, I think Black Panther should have a tight grip on that, and I think some of the scenes didn't look great. Again, I think Chadwick Boseman had a way better character arc in Civil War. I love Civil War;
I
it's my
agree.
favorite.
I
Yeah,
agree. He's
it's
so
my
good.
favorite.
So far.
He's so good in the movie. My brother, he's not like the biggest movie fan in the world. He's seen most of the MCU movies, and we saw Civil War together. And I was Team Cap, I've been Team Cap always. And I think you're straight up like wrong if you're Team Iron Man, because I think he was wrong in the movie from an ideological standpoint. But Black Panther in the movie was our biggest takeaway. Even Spider-Man is in the movie too, but Black Panther, we're like, dude, Black Panther is so good in the movie, even though he was, and then it actually ends up kind of being on Team Cap by the end of the bit. And anyway, so it's my favorite. That's my favorite Marvel movie, my favorite MCU movie. So to see such a great setup with this character and then just a really disappointing film, and if it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, maybe then it's all of a sudden not overrated. But the fact that, and I want to see your take on this. The fact that it was nominated for Best Picture, I think, was political. If I'm being honest, I think it was appeasing. There was some politics involved, appeasing comic book fans to finally get something nominated for Best Picture after The Dark Knight was snubbed. I think there was some people that culturally, being like it's like the big first African American film, make $1 billion. I think that had weighed into it, and that's great. And I think it was really culturally relevant, and it did some really good things with that aspect. But I think there was a little bit of politicking going on as far as it getting nominated for Best Picture. So, what is your take on it of that?
This is my take on it.
He's putting on his Black
Dude,
Panther mask.
this is my dad's. He gave it to me.
Okay,
I
they're not
wanted,
seeing the video. They're not seeing the video version, but guys, Ryan just put on his Black Panther mask.
dude.
Ever.
I got so much Black Panther merchandise. I got the mask. I got
I
another
love
mask
Black
over
Panther.
there,
I
and
love Black.
I got action figures over there. But oh man, I definitely can see where you're coming from, man, because you're definitely not alone on this stance. of Black Panther, people saying is the most overrated MCU movie, because there's a lot of people that would agree with you, but I definitely don't agree. I do love Black Panther. I love the world building it did, the cultural impact, Ryan Coogler's direction. Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, he sure wasn't the standout of the film, but I still thought he was really good. You know, there were definitely better performances in there. You know, Denai Guerreri and Letitia Wright was really great as Shuri, and Killmonger for sure was excellent as the villain. And he was definitely, better in Civil War because, he had a big revenge path because his father was killed. And so he had this huge vendetta on revenge. And in Black Panther, he's the ruler of Wakanda, and there is this threat that is emerging with Killmonger, and so maybe he didn't have those revenge ways, but still, I do really love the character. I do love the world of Black Panther. It is, I would say it's around the 10, 11, or 12 margin of my MCU ranking if I were to do a re-ranking when Black Widow comes out, but I need to rewatch the film, have it fresh in my head as far as is it a top 10 or maybe the 11 spot, but I could definitely see where you're coming from, man, in calling it overrated, but I don't agree in saying it's overrated, but yeah, that's just my
Yeah,
take
it's
on it.
definitely. I love Black Panther. I was so pumped. I loved him in Civil War, and I think despite I think he was put to the sideline, I think he was still a great character. But it is what it is. Marvel's got a lot of movies. You can't like them all. And then you said 12. I have it at 17 out of 23. So it's not
Really?
it's not too far off. I have it at 17. It's
Yeah.
above Thor, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians 2, Iron Man 2, Thor 2, and Hulk. So. But everything else I think I like better.
I actually have a different pick for overrated MCU film. My overrated MCU film is Doctor Strange. Another film with the word
Okay.
another film with the word doctor in it. But still, I thought I thought Doctor Strange was overrated because people again, put that in the top 10. Some people put it in the top 5 of their MCU rankings. Like, are you crazy? Like, have you seen Infinity War, Endgame, Winter Soldier? But that's their list. But everybody has a different pick for overrated MCU movies. Some people think Endgame's overrated, or Infinity War, or Winter Soldier, or Civil War. Some people think Civil War is the most overrated MCU film. And I can understand why people think these movies are overrated, but everybody just has a different opinion, and that's the world we live in today.
I really enjoy Doctor Strange, but I don't think it's see both of your picks. It's kind of funny. It's like you're over. What did you say? This is your underrated one?
Oh, no, we haven't gone to underrated yet. My overrated was Doctor Sleep, but we can get into the
Okay. Okay. So I was okay. All right, I got what you're saying now. As far as the MCU goes, okay, that's your overrated one.
we
That's
were
funny.
rambling
I
on.
actually really, yeah, we've been doing. I don't even know what we're doing right now. We've been rambling on so long.
It's
But
the
hey, we
middle.
like talking MCU. This is our podcast. We can do whatever we want. But as far as
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, I had that at 14. So I mean, it's kind of middle of the road for me. But I didn't love it when I first saw it in theaters, and then I rewatched it, and I actually liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies on there, like the original Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, the Guardians of the no, not really. Ant Man are some movies that got better after rewatch and stuff like that. So for sure, I agree.
Yeah, we need to do an MCU ranking on our
Yeah,
podcast
we could
when
talk all day. We could
Black
talk
Widow
all day
comes
about.
out. Yeah, I can talk all day. But anyway, so now let's go to the underrated movie pick of the week. And my pick for most underrated movie of the week is Waves. Have you seen Waves? It came out last
I
year.
Dude, I feel so bad about doing this. Okay, so I really want to see Waves, and I was going Blu-ray shopping, like not a while ago, maybe like before this whole craziness, and I was able to go get Blu-rays, and I was debating on getting Waves or The Lighthouse, both A24 movies, and I was just I couldn't decide which one to get. Waves was actually cheaper, and I went ahead and went to the Lighthouse, and we already know my take on the film. I feel like I might like Waves more, and I'm kind of bummed I didn't buy it now. So yeah, go ahead and give me why you think it's underrated.
Well, Waves, I picked Waves because I saw the film because I don't know if you know my buddies, Griffin Schiller from Film Speak and my buddy
Yeah,
Zach
great
Pope.
channel.
And yet both amazing YouTubers. We'll definitely have them for guests in the future. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
Griffin said this was his favorite film of the year. And then Zach saw it and it said his favorite movie of the year. I'm like, Waves must be really that great. I have to check out this film for myself, see what I think about it. And I saw Waves in theaters. Thankfully, it came to my theater because usually, A24 movies, they're so limitedly released. They come out like 3 weeks after their initial release date for me. So I saw Waves in theaters and I thought the film was great. I love the film all around. It made it to my top 10 of 2019. It was my number 8, I think. I thought the film was great. Sterling K. Brown, I don't know if you saw him in This Is Us, but he was also in Black Panther. He was great and
Oh yeah.
excellent in ways. He should have been considered, for supporting actor, but too much of competition. And then Calvin Harrison Jr. was really great in there as this character, also a supporting actor, but the film is just told in like two different stories all around. It's from Calvin Harrison Jr.'s perspective as this troubled kid, as an athlete, and something happens in the film, which was wow. And then we go to different, stories there and there. It's basically a film about loss, tragedy, something bad happening, and the consequences for that. It's an excellent film. The performances of some of the best of last year, and nobody, not a lot of people saw this movie, and it's
Yeah,
it's, it's a
yeah,
shame.
even it's funny, like A24 is like kind of a very, especially for film fans, more of a prestigious studio. We kind of look at that studio really highly. And even and their all their movies are, if you think their movies are good, for example, they're all underrated, right? All of them are going to be
Mhm.
underrated because that's the very nature of their studio. They're low budget. They're a lot of them aren't seen by a lot of the audiences in the movie theaters and stuff. So it's crazy that Waves, it seems like it's almost an underrated A24 movie. You know what I mean? Like Uncut Gems and Lady Bird and Room and The
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse and some other A24 films, The Spectacular Now, are already considered underrated. And then Waves is even more underrated in the fact that it was an A24 movie, which is already an underrated film franchise or film studio, is underrated in just its own like pool, like circle of films, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, and not a lot of people saw Waves. People saw The Lighthouse and Lady Bird and stuff like that, and Uncut Gems because of the praiseworthy performance of Adam Sandler, and because of Saoirse Ronan and stuff like that. And I think Waves, everybody needs to see that
It
film
gave
because
me Waves gives me for some reason I don't know why it's giving me Moonlight vibes, which is another
exactly,
A24 movie.
exactly.
And I didn't see Moonlight. I just know based off of the look of it. Who directed both those movies? I don't know,
Barry
but
Jenkins.
did they okay, yeah, yeah. So it's got like a similar kind of vibe to me. But yeah, so I haven't seen either one of those movies. Crazy, I need to.
Yeah,
I
Barry Jenkins did Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk. You should definitely go watch both of those films. I think they're great. And Waves was directed by Trey Edward Schultz. He directed another A24 film, It Comes at Night. I don't know if you saw that. It was with Joel
No, I
Edgerton.
haven't. No, I haven't. Joel Edgerton's great. I love. We were just talking about Ozark.
Warrior.
Jason Bateman. The Gift.
Warrior. Warrior. That's his best performance. Warrior. Did you
Yeah,
see Warrior?
Warriors.
Yeah.
I have not. But Warrior
Oh,
talk
dude.
people talk about that movie all the time, especially when a lot of people have been
Sean
hyped
Chandler.
up for the way. Yeah, Sean Chandler and then the way back and stuff coming out. People have been watching. I need to watch it. I need to watch it.
So good. So good. But anyway, that's my underrated movie pick of the week for Waves. What's your underrated pick, Colin?
Okay, so this is a film that me and you were in our 20s, so we were able to experience the 2008 housing market crash. I'm sure, I remember my family, we lost our house It was a really tough situation. My dad, he flipped houses for a living. So he would bought houses and he renovated them and then sold them for money. And that business completely, with what happened in 2008, that can exist. So a movie that is really underrated is 99 Homes with Andrew Garfield and Michael
Oh,
Shannon.
yes. I've heard
Yeah.
about I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So a lot of people love The Big Short, which I'm sure you've seen. Have you?
I actually haven't seen The Big Short.
Okay, okay. So The Big Short is about like the housing market crash about that time, and it had Christian Bale, it had Steve Carell,
Ryan
it
Gosling.
had Ryan Gosling in it. Ryan Gosling, I think, he's been like kind of the star of the show. Um, so
Ryan.
it's had some a lot of praise that film did, and it did better financially. It was more critically acclaimed. And 99 Homes came out around a similar time as The Big Short, dealt with the same kind of topic about the housing market crash, except for this time it was a little bit more personal, about like more the ground level rather than like the executive level, where you're kind of seeing things from the people witnessing it was happening. And this was kind of just more of the aftermath of it. And 99 Homes didn't do as well financially, but I actually prefer it over The Big Short. I really enjoy The Big Short, but 99 Homes I think is a more personal uh look at it, and it's about Andrew Garfield's character. He just lost his house. He's in between jobs. Laura Dern is great in it. She had a great 2019. I love Laura Dern. She's the
Yeah.
mom in it. And so they're them struggling to get their house back, and he all of a sudden meets Michael Shannon, and Michael Shannon evicts people from their homes, and he somehow, with the politics of all of it and real estate, he's end up making a profit by doing so. And he gets Andrew Garfield under his wing to start kind of basically ripping people off and evicting people from their homes without cause. People that might have paid their bills, they were doing some really corrupt things with it and stuff. And he was able to. Andrew Garfield it was this like kind of moral dilemma of, I know what it's like to be evicted from my home, but now I'm making money doing that very thing, evicting people from their homes. And really powerful stuff. And I prefer it over The Big Short, being that kind of that genre that we obviously don't see very much because it's 2008 housing market crash. There's not a lot of movies on it, but really really cool stuff. I really enjoyed the film. Underrated. Didn't do great financially.
That's a really good pick, man. Really good pick. It's interesting. It's interesting. There's these movies that come out and I hear a word on them, but I just haven't seen them yet. And 99 Homes was one of those movies that, people were talking about and it just never came to my head and I just haven't seen it yet, but I'll check that out at some point on your recommendation and others. So that's a
It's
really good
great,
pick,
dude.
Britton. Yeah. So anyway, I figured we should actually go into this topic right here before we get into a big top 10 list. And I want to answer the fan submitted question portion, which by the way is a segment, guys, that we are bringing on to the show. Fan submitted questions. We want to hear from you guys, the audience, and if you have any questions for us. So please, if you're watching this on YouTube, write in the comment section if you have a question that you want us to answer for the podcast. And whenever we go on social media, Colin and I will address you guys on YouTube, fan community pages and stuff. All right, we're about to film the next episode of the podcast. If you have any questions, please submit them and we might feature your question for the show. And we got a really good question, Colin, from Twitter from my good buddy Daniel Barrios, in great guy, had a former channel, Half Cocked, and he asked this question. My son's due in September. Congratulations, Daniel. That is awesome to hear. So, what would be the very first movie you'd show your sons? And that's a great question right there. And Colin, I'll let you kick this one off.
This one's a tough one for me. I think yeah, I'm kind of just gonna bunch a bunch of films together, but just any animated movie. I think Pixar is a great start. One that comes to mind is like kind of a father-son movie, Finding Nemo. Anything with superheroes, I think is good. The Incredibles might be really good. But if as they get a little bit older, I think like I'm kind of cheating the question a little bit, but congratulations to your son being due in September. That's awesome. But when they get a little older, I think it maybe more of a kind of mature movie, but it's still fun and that the family could see is the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, especially the first one. When they get older and they're like 7 years old or something like that, maybe get him into that franchise. That might be kind of cool. But just any animated movie, I think, would keep their attention. As far as the first film I remember seeing is, I think, Finding Nemo. So, maybe I'll just say that.
Yeah, going off of what he said, I would definitely introduce your kid, to the Toy Story franchise. I think that would be the first thing, absolutely. Like, Toy Story, I think, was the first franchise I really dived into when I was a little kid. And I just fell in love with Woody and Buzz. Like, I got a Woody action figure, Buzz action figure, Jesse. I had pretty much all the main characters from Toy Story, and I just fell in love with the world and the characters, and just rewatching those films like 5 times, like every single year, quoting the movies whenever I watch them on the VHS, and I just fell in love with that world. Also, The Lion King as well is
Oh yeah, it's
a
good.
staple. That is, I think that's the first movie you show your kid right there. Not that 2019 movie, that doesn't exist to me. Like, show your kid the 1994 hand-drawn animated classic right there, and introduce him to the circle of life, Hakuna Matata, Simba, Mufasa, Scar, the easily the best Disney animated villain of all time, and just fall in love with the world. Hamlet in animation is excellent, with memorable songs and a memorable story. Or if you want to introduce your kid to a fantasy world, definitely Harry Potter is a good start. Um, as I watched those films as well growing up, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Like, there's so many worlds to dive into, but I think definitely an animated world like Toy Story or The Lion King or Aladdin.
Shrek, I think, is a good one too. I loved
Shrek,
Shrek when I
yeah.
was younger. I watched. I would literally had the VHS tapes. I would watch it, take it out, put it right back in, and watch it again. Like I was obsessed with Shrek.
Yeah, so those are great things, to show your kid out there. And if you guys have any suggestions as well, put them in the comments on YouTube and all that. So that would probably be our answer to that question. Thank you, Daniel, by the way, for submitting in that question. Anybody who submits in questions, we thank you very much, and we love to feature it on the show. Wow, it is downpouring right now. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, it's like raining or something.
It's raining really hard right now, but I don't know if they can hear it at home. But anyway, Colin, let's just go right into the next topic here. And we usually do this segment all the time, a top 10 list of the week. And this was interesting. Quentin Tarantino's birthday was a few days ago. Happy birthday, Quentin Tarantino, one of my favorite filmmakers, definitely of ever. His birthday was a couple days ago. So Collider, I feel bad for you. I used to love Collider, but now I don't. They posted a ranking of all his directed movies. And Colin, I figured we would share our rankings as well to celebrate, Quentin Tarantino's birthday and just celebrate all of his work. So, do you want me to reveal Collider's list first, and then we'll just go right into our rankings?
I have the link right here. I can go ahead and do that for you if you want.
Okay.
Basically, I could just run it right off. And I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but we can get into it. They have at number 10, The Hateful Eight. At number 9, Death Proof. Number 8, Kill Bill Volume 1. Number 7, Kill Bill Volume 2. So they actually prefer the second part of that movie better. At 6, they have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the latest Quentin Tarantino film. Number 5, Django Unchained. Number 4, Reservoir Dogs. Number 3, Pulp Fiction. Probably his most popular work is at number 3. So interesting choice there. Number 2, Inglourious Bastards. And then number 1, Jackie Brown.
Brown. Wow.
Yeah, so that's their list right there. Of course, it's subjective. I think he's got a great filmography, so I'm not really hating on the list too much because it's funny though. Jackie Brown's like the least like Quentin Tarantino-y. So I have a feeling this person who did this list maybe doesn't like Quentin Tarantino that much. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, so that's their list. Do you want me to just rattle off my list first, or do you want to go ahead?
I think we should go back and forth. Do 10, 10, 9, 9.
Okay, I'll start
So,
off at
Colin,
number
what's your number
10.
10?
Yeah, so I'll start off at number 10, and number 10. This is kind of the popular pick is Death Proof.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just it probably could use another action scene. I think it's probably actually too short, actually. Um, but it's actually too long when you consider that it doesn't have another action scene in it. Just not that all that compelling of a plot. You know, it's fun action. Kurt Russell's of course great. We Azaria Dawson, I believe is her name.
Rosario
Rosario
Dawson,
Dawson.
yeah.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, we just talked about her on the last podcast. So, some positives to the film, but you know, it's his least critically acclaimed work, and for good reason. So it's a number 10.
Yeah, Death Proof is also my number 10, but if we're doing an actual Tarantino ranking, Quentin Tarantino considers the Kill Bill movies as one movie, but if you want to do it by 10, but 10 is Death Proof for me. I think Death Proof is really great, actually. It's really underrated. I love, Kurt Russell as stuntman Mike, just one of the cool villain characters who's basically killing all these girls who are strippers, and you have these vengeful girls getting revenge on him and stuff. It's a really cool look at how strippers are being treated, and Tarantino adds his normal blood and violence to the film, and it has some really cool elements. Could have used a lot more action. I agree with that. But still, I think Death Proof is really underrated. But unfortunately, out of all Tarantino's filmography, it's his weakest.
Yeah, so it's good, but not not as good as I would. Uh, it's lower tier Tarantino for sure. At my number 9, I have his newest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm,
I've gotten
mm.
some hate on my channel for sure for this take, but I think actually is probably the most disappointing movie on this entire list, based off of like my hype level with it and just my overall experience when I first watched it. I did rewatch it and I liked it a lot more the second time, which is good. Um, I just it feels like it just meanders and it's kind of and it's a hangout movie. I get it. I like kind of the 1960s vibe to it. Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt are great. Margot Robbie is where is my biggest gripes in the film. She's a great actress. She's not given a whole lot to do.
I agree. Yeah.
I think they kind of half-ass both storylines. It's like the kind of 1960s like comedy hangout romp and then the Charles Manson like cult drama.
Exactly.
And
Hmm.
it didn't really give you 100% of either one of it. It's kind of just kind of tried to like flirted with it and dipped its toes into both kind of things, genres or storylines to go with, and it doesn't really fully commit to one. If I had to pick one, it probably definitely committed more to the hangout stuff, but then as soon as we kind of get used to them talking and doing their things, then we do some the Charles Manson kind of things to it. The ending is great. I love the ending. Thought it was awesome.
Hmm.
Just a really disappointing movie for me. I think I have all the Best Picture nominees. I said it was the worst of 2019. Of course, my opinion's a lot different because I thought Little Women was the best. I think
I
it was the
think
best
that's
film.
the weakest. So we
And
have differences of opinion.
yeah, Little Women. Well, and there's a surprise factor with it too. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm way more pumped to see that than I am Little Women, right? So my chances of being disappointed are a lot higher. It was my most disappointing movie of the year. And then Little Women, I had no expectations for. I'm like, maybe I'm not really the target audience. And then I was obsessed with it. I loved it. Didn't read the book or anything like that. Love Greta Gerwig and what she does. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's my number 9.
Okay, so fans definitely take that as you will, but there's people that agree with you. I know some people think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the most overrated film last year, but I'll get to my take on that later. So number 9 for me is The Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight. I saw this in theaters. First Tarantino film I saw in theaters, so I was really excited for it. I love The Hateful Eight. I like all. Keep in mind, guys, I love all of Tarantino's films, but for The Hateful Eight in particular, I saw the film and I loved it the first time. That was one of my favorite films of 2015. I think that was my number 5. I don't remember, but after rewatching it only for a second time leading up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so I could rank all of his films, and also did a series on my channel called the Once Upon a Time with Tarantino series, had different guests on. I rewatched The Hateful Eight, and I also thought it meanders. I thought it was a little too long, and usually Tarantino's films are like over 3 hours, pushing the 3 hour mark. And I just thought the film was a little too long, and I felt like it stayed its welcome a little bit too long. And I also felt like it didn't have much rewatchability factor compared to Tarantino's other films. There's another rewatchability issue I have with another film, but I still love The Hateful Eight. The performances in it are great. Samuel L. Jackson, I think, gives his best performance all around in Tarantino's films in here. Like that one monologue about you know what, I was crying laughing in the theater. Anyway, Walton Goggins was also excellent. He was probably my second favorite in the film. Kurt Russell as well with Jennifer Jason Leigh. Like it's an isolated film. You're isolated, stuck in this cold shelter, and these people are going crazy, having trust issues left to right, a murder mystery like Knives Out. Like it's great. But then we focus on a different storyline, and it felt like it overstayed its welcome. And then Channing Tatum shows comes out of nowhere, and I felt like the movie was getting a little too meandering there, and it should have ended at some point. But still, love The Hateful Eight. Just had those little gripes.
Yeah, I have the Hateful Eight higher, obviously, but the Hateful Eight, I think it's whereas Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, people really like that movie and kind of hate on the Hateful Eight. A little bit more, is they say like the Hateful Eight meanders. To me, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm okay with that." The Once Upon a Time meanders. To me, the Hateful Eight, I'm okay that it meandered. I just think it was the subjectivity of the scenario in it. I just completely one resonated with me, the meandering resonated with me, and the Hateful Eight, and it didn't with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And there's nothing we can do about that. It's just the subjectivity of movies.
But I do think the dialogue is better in The Hateful Eight than in Once Upon a
Oh,
Time in
much
Hollywood.
better, much
Yeah,
better. Yeah, that's not even. I don't think the
the
debate.
dialogue's the
It,
best part. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I agree. And then the number 8 for me, I got Kill Bill. I'm just gonna kind of say my number 7 as well because 8 is Kill Bill 2, and then my 7 is Kill Bill 1. These can kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's actually the
I,
same for me. So go right ahead.
yeah, 8 and 7. They're just, I think two's got a. I actually when I first saw 2, I thought it was better, and then I rewatched them both again. And I think one's better. I think two's got a little bit more chat on it. It's a little it is a little bit more talky. Kill Bill one's got the more it seems a little bit quicker. It's actually the shorter movie too. I think Kill Bill, even though I like it better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Death Proof, I think it is a little bit overly loved, I guess. People are like, "Oh my god, Kill Bill." I'm not big onto that. Just people are chopping their heads off and there's blood everywhere and stuff. It was really over the top, and that's what Tarantino is, and I like that in most parts. Django Unchained is an example that's super over top. There's blood, but here just the kung fu style and Japanese filmmaking that he was clearly inspired by. Just movies that I've never really been too into, kind of a lot of anime and stuff. That whole culture I'm not really very entwined with. So I just don't resonate with the Kill Bill films, even though I enjoy them a lot. I just can't appreciate them just by default because I'm not the other films that he was inspired by to do this. So a lot of people love these movies, and I love them too, but it's on a different level.
Yeah, yeah. So I have the same placement. My number eight's Kill Bill Volume 2, and my number seven's Kill Bill Volume 1. I think the first one is better than the second one for sure, even though they're all 1 4 hour long film. Uma Thurman's great as the bride Beatrix Kiddo. I loved how in the first one it's just this revenge story she's on, trying to find Bill and kill him, just like the title says, because on the wedding night. And I just love the first one because of that big long action sequence in the against the crazy 88. So awesome. The theme music's great. And then we go to Kill Bill Volume 2, which is basically her finding Bill and then getting the revenge she needs. And I felt like the second film overstayed its welcome with the runtime. But the first one had a very simple revenge story in it, and another bunch of characters we wanted to see more from that were killed off. But I still love the world Tarantino built, making a strong female character and Uma Thurman's performance. But I felt like the second film just overstayed its welcome.
Yeah. So we're at number 6 now, right?
Yeah, we're at number 6.
Number 6 is actually what Collider had at number 1, Jackie Brown. I think Jackie Brown is freaking hilarious. I think it's one of his funniest movies.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
beginning with Samuel L. Jackson is just golden, golden.
Yes.
So good. Pam Grier is great. Something. What's his name? His last name Foster, I believe. Robert Foster,
Robert
right?
Forster. Robert Forster. Breaking
Forster.
Bad.
Yeah,
Rest in peace. Rest in
he
peace.
recently passed away. Great in the film. Just a cool, very not super. Probably the least Tarantino of all his movies. It's the only adaptation, I believe. This is based off a book, and it's a fun time. I really enjoyed it. You got the Tarantino isms for sure, but it's the least Tarantino-y. And it falls at number 6 on my list.
Awesome. I have a similar placement, but we'll get to that soon. My number 6 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I've seen that 3 times now. I absolutely loved it the first time in the theaters. Just the world that Tarantino built, just the 60s style of filmmaking, the film industry, the production design, which had one production design, and these awesome characters of Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt, his Oscar win, which I thought Brad Pitt wasn't the best supporting actor performance last year, in my opinion. Willem Dafoe, The Lighthouse, but still, I love the world Tarantino built in here. I do agree it does meander. It's too long of a film, being almost 3 hours long. Margot Robbie, I felt also was my big issue as Sharon Tate, as it was glorifying this very innocent girl who was murdered by the Manson stuff. I think that film more focuses on the Hollywood aspect than it does in the Manson murders, which it comes at the final act, which I think people who were going into this movie were expecting a Manson murder investigation film, and they got a completely different film. Maybe that's why they didn't love it as much, but I also agree the ending was just one of the best endings in a Tarantino film. With Cliff Booth and his dog going against the Manson killers, which was awesome. And then, Leo with the blowtorch, which is awesome foreshadowing. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but the more I rewatch it, I do agree it's a little bit overrated in terms of all the Oscar noms it got and Brad Pitt's win. But still, I don't hate the movie. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but there's just better Tarantino films. So that's my number 6. Colin.
Number 5. My number 5 is a film that was your number 9. It was Collider's number 10. So I like it more than other people do. The Hateful Eight. And I kind of talked about, I'll kind of be quick here. But I just enjoyed the meandering more than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because of the dialogue, which you pointed out is better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It kind of reminded me of Reservoir Dogs, and the fact that, and we'll get to that later on this list, the fact that it was kind of set in one location could easily be adapted to a play, and I would love to see that. That'd be really cool. Just a whodunit film. I really enjoyed it. I loved all the performances. Channing Tatum, you mentioned maybe like when he gets in, it gets a little long and kind of like, oh, let's wrap this up. I liked his presence in the film. Uh, really enjoy it, and I have it at my top 5.
Awesome, awesome, man. Now we're in our top 5s. My number 5 is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown, I think, is Tarantino's most underrated film. I love the characters. I love, Pam Grier as Jackie Brown. I think the opening of Jackie Brown is my favorite music opening of his. Like, I love that song, the way it opens up. We get into the world. Robert De Niro was also great in there. Samuel L. Jackson was a big scene stealer. The one scene with Chris Tucker was awesome, or a couple scenes. And Robert Forster was nominated for supporting actor in here. I love him in Breaking Bad and El Camino. But his character by far was the most interesting in terms of his story with Jackie Brown. And I just love the way Tarantino films Jackie Brown. It's a very funny movie, action-packed film. It's also a long movie, but I did not mind that watching this film. And I just love the dialogue. The dialogue in Jackie Brown is some of the best Tarantino writing. And I just fell in love with just the score to it all, and the fact that it's so underrated that not a lot of people are talking about Jackie Brown when people talk about Tarantino's best films.
All right. So my number four, I got Django Unchained. I actually had it on my number three before, and then I rewatched it and actually went down. Still 5 out of 5 stars. I love the movie. I just think it's kind of I debate my one and two are very solid, but my three and four I kind of debate going back and forth of which movie I like more. And it kind of solidified that I like the other one more, which will be at my number three spot. But Django, I felt had a little bit. It was similar thing what we're kind of talking about. Went a little long, but still, I loved how. Whereas Kill Bill, I think the blood and the action was maybe a little too campy, especially with like the martial arts influence. I'm not into like that whole anime kind of martial arts Japanese culture thing as much as other people do. And where Django Unchained, he's shooting guns. That's more my style, you know. So more of a western, more of a western kind of vibe. I think that's why I really like the Hateful Eight as well. Django Unchained, Jamie Foxx, such a badass in the movie. Christoph
Yeah.
Waltz, great. You know what's crazy is Jamie Foxx is absolutely phenomenal in the movie, but Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Samuel L.
Samuel
Jackson
Jackson.
probably give better performances, and that's how
Yeah.
crazy
Mm,
that movie is. And
mm.
and by better performances, it's barely, but they're so good. I can't
So
even tell you
good.
which. I can't tell you which one I like more. Christoph Waltz is probably the more consistent kind of. He's throughout the entire film, so he definitely
Leo Sam.
deserves.
Leo
Leonardo
and
DiCaprio,
Sam.
yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio is so just he's just yelling and being crazy. He's got that whole southern twang to him, and then Samuel L. Jackson being like the Uncle Tom, the slave, and he's just so great, so good. It's the best Samuel L. Jackson I think I've ever seen, and because most of the time when we see Samuel L. Jackson, it's like that's Samuel L. Jackson. He's great, but he's Samuel L. Jackson. This one, no, he was
Oh, he
the
was not.
slave. He was the head slave, and Django Unchained. It's so badass. It's so bloody. The music is great. I love how campy it is. I love Django Unchained, despite it actually going down on my ranking after upon rewatch.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We will talk about Django later. My number four is Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs, the first Tarantino film, and love the world. You know, Tarantino brought in here, like you said, a very ensemble type of film with these different characters in here. Love Reservoir Dogs. I love Harvey Keitel as Mr. White, and then you have Steve Buscemi as Mr. Pink. Which, by the way, I didn't know if you got this restaurant. I didn't know if you know about this Easter egg, Colin. Mr. White and Mr. Pink. If you combine Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, and
Ooh,
there's a
nice.
scene in Breaking Bad, you know, where Jesse comes into the house of Walt, and then he has the gun to his face, and then he's interrogating Walt because he might have poisoned Brock, and then there's a scene where Walt's sitting on the ground, and then Jesse has the gun to him. Remember the scene in Reservoir Dogs where Mr. Pink
Yep,
has the
yep,
gun to Mr. White? That it was paying homage to that right there because of the character names, which I thought was
yep.
that
I
was an
remember that
awesome
scene.
callback and Easter egg. Anyway, Reservoir Dogs was a really great film. I love, you know, heist movies altogether, this diamond heist film. And it's just about these characters and their perspectives on an actual event that happened. I think my only issue with the film was really Mr. Orange's character, Tim Roth. And I felt like the twist was a little bit forced in there, and his storyline I wanted a little bit more from, but I loved also Mr. Blonde, Michael Madsen, awesome character when he's just dancing and interrogating that cop. That was a really cool scene
Oh
altogether.
yeah.
And the dialogue in this film is really witty and awesome and bloody for sure. There is a lot of blood in here. And this was the first Tarantino film, and I just love the world, the characters, the dialogue. It's so great. Love Reservoir Dogs.
You mentioned Mr. Orange. His storyline when he was reading the script, that's like one of the best scenes in like movie history to me. Love that whole, or not maybe scenes, more like a montage, I guess. Awesome stuff.
Awesome. What's your number three?
Number three is Inglorious Bastards. To me, I
That's also
think
my number three.
okay, so yeah, we could just go ahead and talk about Inglorious
Mhm.
Bastards. To me, is more Tarantino has a lot of his artsy stuff, his Tarantino isms that we all love. The great dialogue, the bloody stuff, the talking about kind of just random things in its dialogue. The cultural references, everything that we love about Tarantino, the action scenes that he does, the everything. Inglourious Basterds to me feels like he brought his Tarantino flair to it for sure, but he focused on just making a solid film, just a World War II Nazi killing movie, and it's got the Tarantino stuff in it. Don't get me wrong, but he just was kind of cut away some of the artsy stuff and just made a freaking movie. Oh God, was this a movie that I absolutely loved?
Yeah, I'm talking about Inglourious Basterds because that's also my number three. Brad Pitt as Aldo Rain, and then you have Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa, one of the best villains in cinema. And the film is just icy cold, like a World War II Nazi film, but Tarantino style. The opening 20 minutes of this movie is
Oh
Christoph
my
Waltz
goodness.
with drinking milk and just talking to this farmer. It is, I have never been as scared or as unnerved in my life seeing a villain introduction like that with Hans Landa when he's just talking with this farmer about these runaway Jews, and it's just so suspenseful. The Jews are hiding under on the floor, and then they're shooting the floor. It is just awesome. I'm like, I fell in love with this movie right away. I already knew it was going to be amazing from that opening scene. And then you have Aldo Rain, Brad Pitt, such a cool character for him to play. And then you have the iconic bear Jew scene with Eli Roth with the bat, just so great. Love that scene there. And it's just so great. We go into different storylines as well. Um, you have Baron Zemo in there, Daniel Bruhl. And then we just go to this theater full of Nazis. And we have the iconic scene, with the theater burning and then killing Hitler. Just awesome. Like Tarantino's homage and just killing Hitler in the Nazis world. It's just so great. And Christoph Waltz, well-deserved Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Absolutely. Love Inglourious Bastards. And you're talking about opening scenes. That's kind of one of another Quentin Tarantino thing, just great opening scenes. Inglourious Bastards is one of the best. The only thing I think that might compete with a better opening scene was the one, it's my number 2 spot, Reservoir Dogs. And it depends on kind of what you're mood for. If you're wanting more of that dramatic stuff and such a deep, thought-provoking scene, Inglourious Basterds is definitely it. But I love when Tarantino is funny. And in Reservoir Dogs, the opening scene in that movie is absolutely hilarious, talking about whether you should tip a waitress or not and stuff like that. And whole scene's great. Whole movie's great. The cutting off the ear scene with Mr. Blonde and the song that plays and everything. Just so many put Tarantino on the map. I love how it's about a jewel heist that we never see. I love how it's kind of centrally in like one location. The cast is great. Just one of the best films ever made. And made by one of the greatest filmmakers. So number 2 on my list for Tarantino.
Awesome, awesome. Reservoir Dogs introduced us to Tarantino and his great other filmography. My number 2 is pretty much what a lot of people have at number 1, Pulp Fiction. Tarantino's first groundbreaking piece of cinema that everybody calls Tarantino now a master. Pulp Fiction, the first Tarantino film I saw, obviously, and loved Pulp Fiction. And the opening scene to that is as well one of his best openings with Tim Roth and his wife sitting in the diner, and then we get to an awesome scene with that later. And then there's like every last stuff I want to, and then we go to the song as well, and then we go to Samuel Jackson and John Travolta driving in the car, Vincent and Jules, and it's just the classic dialogue. What are you, Royale with cheese? Like it's
Royale
just
with cheese.
we call a burger quarter pounder in France. Like all these different, fast food lines in the film, and then you go to
Do you
that
give a foot
scene.
massage? Do you give a foot massage to Marcellus Wallace's wife?
Marcellus Wallace's wife, like there's so many great things in here. And of course, Jules interrogating the guy eating the big kahuna burger, and then say what again? Like, and introduce
Do
the
they do they
world.
do they speak English and what?
What? Like, oh my God.
Say what
And then
again? Say what again?
And then we just go to this different story. We got Bruce Willis now as the lead character, which I think he may have been the lead character, which we all thought, Vincent and Jules were the main characters. But then we just go to this different storyline. And then we see Marcellus Wallace, I think was, I forgot his name. He was in Mission Impossible. But anyway, it's just a different story all around. And Tarantino just knows how to take all these different stories and make it interesting all around. And then I love the scene with Vincent and Jules in the restaurant, just like in the opening, and then they're just interrogating Tim Roth. It's just so great. Everyone loves Pulp Fiction. I love Pulp Fiction. It's why Tarantino is what he is today.
Yeah, so spoiler, I mean, we got no films left on my list. So number one is what the movie we just talked about for all the reasons. We're kind of, we kind of hit on all of it on your stuff, but just change the way you think about cinema, the story structure, the cast, put Samuel L. Jackson on the map, kind of revolted John Travolta's career. It didn't necessarily stay that way, but just excellent stuff. The dialogue, the best scene to me is when they actually go to Quentin Tarantino. He's a cameo in this film, and they just got done blowing the dude's face off, and they have to clean up their car, and we actually so we get a great cameo from him in the film, and that's my favorite scene in the entire movie when they have to.
It's my house.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, he's like, I know it's good shit. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I know it's good stuff because I buy the best, coffee or whatever. Anyway, great stuff, and then we can move on to your number one because I know we're running long.
Yeah, so Pulp Fiction was great. My number one is Django Unchained. Django Unchained is my favorite Tarantino film. When I did see it, I just fell in love. I'm a huge Western fan. I love Western movies. And Django Unchained was the coolest Red Dead Redemption live action movie put to film. And my favorite, song opening scene for Tarantino films is Django Unchained with Django, Django. That's by far my favorite song opening. And then we just get introduced to, Jamie Foxx as Django as a slave. Now he's a badass hunter on a horse. And he's just going to all these locations. I love his chemistry with Christoph Waltz in the film. They're a great duo. And they're just killing people left to right for bounties. And then he's trying to break his wife out of the hands of Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy, one of the greatest villains in cinema. Leonardo DiCaprio was my favorite character by far, and Samuel L. Jackson as well. They go to the house, and my favorite scene is just Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy at the dinner table where he just stabs his hand with the skull. Like, my God, that scene gives me goosebumps. And then it's awesome. I think the blood in this film is the bloodiest out of all Tarantino's films that feels earned, like it feels gritty. And just the performance that Jamie Foxx gives as Django, such a badass type of lead character. And then the ending of the film might have been my favorite ending for the Tarantino film, with the house exploding and Django riding off with the horse. Like, it's such a satisfying movie. It's also really long too, almost 3 hours. But I wasn't bored watching this film. Not one scene I found boring. I think it's Tarantino's most rewatchable film. It's dialogue filled, it's action packed, and it's just awesome. That's my number one.
I love that scene when you're saying the ending scene where he blows up the house. I can't remember the lady's name, but he was saying to the maid, he was like, tell Miss like Laura goodbye or whatever. I can't remember the exact. And she's like, goodbye, Miss Laura. And then he just shoots her. That was so funny.
And then
I just love that scene.
And he just shoots Sam Jackson. Oh, motherfucker! Says his iconic line. Yeah, so awesome. So anyway, guys, that was our Tarantino rankings. So let's go to the second to last, I think the last topic for today, and it is our weekly movie quote of the week, which we do every single week. So, Colin, I'll kick you off. What's your movie quote of the week?
So my quote, I'm kind of going a little bit fun this time. One of my favorite comedies of the last decade. I think one of the greatest comedies of all time. A really surprise comedy, and that's this quote from 21 Jump Street. We mentioned Channing Tatum earlier, actually, in our Tarantino ranking. And this came from Dave Franco's character when he's been betrayed. He finds out Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum's characters are cops, and he said to Jonah Hill's character, he says, "We partied together, man. You bought us Taco Bell." That's my quote of the week.
Awesome.
Because he's like, he's just like, I guess if you brought someone Taco Bell, that means automatically you guys are homies, apparently.
Yeah, that's a great quote. Really like 21 Jump Street. My movie quote of the week comes from one of my favorite films of all time, The Dark Knight. And that is from Harvey Dent's character, where he's given that speech about Batman turning himself in, and he just says this quote. And he just says, "The night is darkest before the dawn, and I promise you, the dawn is coming." And I didn't pick the quote that everybody picks, "You live long enough to see yourself become the villain," because everyone loves that quote. I picked that quote mainly because I was watching the Flick Pick, and he uses that quote a lot in his newest videos, and I think that quote is really powerful, especially with what's going on right now with what. There's always going to be a dark night, but the dawn is yet to come, and I love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and it just makes me think of that. The dawn could be coming someday, and hey, who knows? Who knows? I just love that quote. So anyway, guys.
Yeah, great quote, and it's one we don't think about, so.
So anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up episode 2 of the Fallen for Film podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the second episode. Look forward to episode 3. It's going to be highly awesome whenever we do get a guest on here. I am also really looking forward to that. Anyway, Colin, you guys know where you can find Colin on all his social media links down below. Episode 2 is in the books, and so look forward to episode 3. This is going to be awesome. Colin, do you have any closing remarks before we close off?
Nothing. I guess just I'll plug this real fast. Go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. Just search my name, Colin Williams. Doing some fun things over there. Gonna finish Ozark soon, so my review of that will be soon. So looking forward to that.
Yes, as far as videos for me, I have a Blu-ray haul coming out, which I do every single month, so look forward to that. As well as some maybe some movie reviews I have coming up. I have a review coming up for Spirited Away, the classic anime film that I haven't seen yet, so look forward to that classic review, as well as maybe a ranking video that I have. I don't know yet, but you'll find out. Thank you guys so much for listening in on episode 2. If you want to watch the podcast, head on over to Google Play and Spotify. Still waiting to hear back on iTunes, but once it's up on iTunes, it'll be there as well. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.